Eminence schools, the schools that Buddy Barry has led to excellence. Children are arriving and so are we. Let's have a virtual visit to Eminence Independent Schools. As we enter the doors, let's get a vibe for the school. Let's see how it feels and looks inside. Open space, balconies, colorful seating, gathering spaces.
Hey there.
Good morning, sir. Well, we're looking forward to seeing what's going on in Eminence today. So, welcome to Warrior Town. What is Warrior Town?
Warrior Town is how we themed out our elementary. It was really our probably very first innovation. We had a 100-year-old building, and so how do you spice it up? And so we made it into a small town.
Like you're in some kind of Disney space.
Kind of wanted to go for that. Wanted to go for like Main Street USA vibe, and then every teacher's store has their name on it to kind of make it. It's a small town. Small business owner, like, and the product being the kids, like where they really take a lot of pride and ownership in what they're doing.
Back to Fia. Tom, you were telling me a story that when you guys made this renovation.
Yeah, so it was about 11, 12 years ago, and we unveiled it for open house with the kids who had, gone to the same space, but different theming. It was just a traditional cinder block wall, carpet floor, school. Some of the little guys were coming through and tears in their eyes, and they turned to a friend and said, "We go to a rich school now." It's just that pride in their school, had changed overnight.
We go to a rich school, and you do not have a rich student body.
Absolutely not, yeah. No.
Tell us about your demographics.
So we're roughly 65% free and reduced lunch, and a very high homeless population. So we have obviously a family resource youth service center, but we also have a McKinney-Vento homeless liaison that work closely together. We have a high needs population.
So Tom, you said the genesis of all of this greatness came when you really decided to start asking kids what they wanted to see in their school. Tell us about that. What was the process?
We consider your student is your user. It's your customer. And so you think from a business model, you're designing your whole model around what do they need, want, what will they tell you, and so Dr. Barry and I went to each classroom in the building at that time, K-12. Okay, so and I'm going back 11 years ago. I've been here 12 years. This was probably 11 or 12 years ago that some of these things kind of started. And we took a really rudimentary clip art schoolhouse, with the flagpole, and just you would look at it and say, okay, that's a school. And you just kind of went into each class and asked the teacher to leave. And it was, we're looking at a redesign of school. We're looking at our motto is that School on Fire is the framework of innovation for reinventing education. So we set really small goals, but the prompt for kids was really think through what would the perfect school have, or what does our school already have that you really like, that if we were going to change things, you would say, please do not change this. We love this part of our school. And we had those kids, write into the schoolhouse the things that they really loved, or their dreams of a perfect school would have this. Maybe we don't have it, but I think this would be it. And then on the outside of that building, we said anything either that schools do or our school does in general that you really don't like, or this is something that you need to look at, address, or change. We literally just put all of the sheets on the table and started reading through them and kind of charting and graphing what are the things that bubble to the top that kids are saying that they want, need, or design. And that's really where the kind of the framework for a true student voice. Student voice is asking kids what they want. We wanted to switch from student entitlement to empowerment. And what I mean by that is the initial phases of that was the leaders and the administrators and the teachers were the fixers. So it was this concept of the kids would tell you, here's what we don't like.
And then we got to fix it.
And then it was this list.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, your 1.5, 2 of that is you are worn out as a leader and administrator because you are doing nothing but running around trying to fix everyone's problems. And that is a daunting, and I would argue, impossible task. You can't fix everyone's problems.
Right.
And so now kind of our go-to phrase is, okay, I hear you and I'm listening to you. What are you going to do about it? I'm going to empower you as the person who's bothered by whatever this issue is to make change. It's not the kid coming to the parent and saying, I don't like this.
Right.
Okay. What are
you going to propose?
What solutions could you propose to the tech? Let us guide you in the process. If you would like to draft a proposal for a site-based council or a school board to take your complaint and issue but bring a solution to the table, like that's kind of how you're doing it. And then that in turn is kind of teaching kids all of the skills they need to be like citizens in a world.
So, buddy, you got to get good ideas somewhere.
Yep.
You were saying that like you can go to professional development conferences and stuff, but you'd
Yep.
rather go see stuff in action.
Yeah. We would much rather go see a school working, happening, and kids learning. And so, because it's easy to do your 45-minute, keynote, it's another thing to see it being pulled off. So we're getting ready to go to Vermont and Maine. We're going to go to Casco Bay High School and Winooski School District in Vermont.
And so the team that's going to those schools is what?
4 admin and 4 teachers.
Yeah. You're just
Yeah.
explorers trying to
Yes.
find the next best thing.
Absolutely. Or what, like this. Like, I think why I'm so excited about what you all are doing is that you're taking everybody on that trip without ever having to have the expense of travel.
Right. So this is a cafeteria. I feel like I'm in a food court here.
Yeah, cafeteria. We one of our first renovations, we did this about a decade ago, made it to look like a restaurant. We call it the Chili Pepper. Our whole motto is based on fire and ice, and so the chill for the ice, the E for Eminence, and the pepper for the fire. So,
That's really nice.
yeah, like I said, we overthink everything. Because we're so landlocked and space is so small, even the you can tell where even the booths are student workstations during the day, and classes
Right.
will come in and check it out. And so then they can, each one of those is hooked to an Apple TV where they can share their screens from their devices and kind of do collaborative work. So a principle that we use a lot is called the Medici effect. So we get ideas from outside industries to bring them into our own. Probably have 15 or 20 going on right now at the school. I can show them to you as we go through. A lot of our big ideas have came from looking at solutions that other industries have made.
So who's looking out? I mean,
I think you're looking all the time. So like we've gotten examples from Cosair Children's Hospital in Louisville. My daughter was there at 2 years old, was a cancer patient. And so you're looking around and like, what do they do? We took a field trip with all of our staff. It's been years ago, but we loaded our entire staff on a bus, took them to the cancer ward. They interviewed cancer patients to say, what does this hospital do to make your time here enjoyable? Because that element of surprise and delight that we talk about, all the while they're being pricked and prodded and tested, going through, horrific disease. Question that we spent 10 minutes with a cancer patient, and the one question we had staff members ask is, how do they make this fun? And then our takeaway really is to bring our staff back and say, if they can make oncology fun and enjoyable and put that element of surprise and delight, we can do that in math class.
These are the surprise and delight solution to try to, how do we do the fun theory to make kids wash their hands during COVID?
so let's see, how does this work?
So you literally, it's a car wash for your hands. We were the first public school, we were the first school in America to use them. And they were only in surgery wards and Disney cruise lines prior to us.
A new part of the school, classic wall, and then what's happening here?
So this is the window to the world. So every day it's a different web camera from around the world up there to kind of give kids glimpses into the world.
Buddy, I noticed this screen, right? We got this cool screen that's like, it's fun, it's
And
video.
where you're at in here is called the presentation lab, and you saw the presentation going on earlier. There's usually something like that all day, every day. And so we designed this for a space where students could speak. It's an interactive touch panel screen where they can get used to presenting in front of people.
Yep.
And so right now it's got one of my personal passion projects for like the last decade. And that was to figure out a way to prototype ideas and make them come out 3-dimensionally. And so there's about 15 or 20 different backdrops you can do. Cities, towns, villages. This one's all animals.
So a kid drew this, colored this, made this?
Yep. And then you take this and you put it in this magic box right here. And it will then go and make it come up on the screen, and it makes it come to life. And Jen and Kendra are our librarian and our ed hub facilitator. Tell them kind of what some of the tools are in like each of the rooms we've got.
Well, the sublimation printers are tucked back here, and they're really popular right now because we have a lot of kids that are getting empowered with graphic design tools. And so those sublimation printers allow them to bring in their own things like shirts or bags or little pouches and things like that, and they can put their own designs on there, and it gives us a chance to teach ethical use of information at that same time in maybe a way they're more motivated to learn than when they're writing a paper. We have more 3D printers. This is our t-shirt press for our vinyl cut. Like we have a vinyl cutter over there that we can do heat transfer transfer vinyl on, and we have a Cricut as well done.
So are kids using these for a specific class, or can any class create something that gets then utilizes
Any
this
class
technology?
can, and also micro-credentialing is a large component there. So that's where kids can individually say, I want to do this and I want to do this project to get micro-credentialed in.
We onboard our staff to think that way. So like their onboarding process requires them to go through our training that we've gotten, where it used to take a year to get teachers ready. Now we feel pretty good in 2 days. And so we've really kind of perfected that onboarding of how to change how they think and see the world.
So when you're onboarding someone, it's not just how do you work the copier machine or where do you park your car, but it's like, how do we think here?
Yes.
How do we approach?
Yes.
Way more important. That starts with the interview. We do dispositional interviews where we've really switched away from, and it's not to say that you don't look at someone's college coursework or ask pedagogical
But you
questions.
still have to have the right
You do
licensure
answer
and all
those
that
things.
stuff, yeah.
But there are a lot of questions where it's culturally, do you fit with collaboration? Are you a team player? Are you an innovator? Are you when's the last time you came up with a creative solution to solve a problem? Tell us about that. And so you ask a lot of those kinds of questions to say, will they fit in this culture as a problem solver, a thinker, yes and thinking, see a problem, fix a problem.
And to be fair, it really goes back down, if anybody's ever heard us speak, which a lot of this group will, are you a polar bear or are you a penguin, right? Like the interview is to figure out, are you somebody that's all in and can work with us with the way we work, and then, or can you not?
So what about those folks who were there and have old school thinking? I mean, have you been able to bring people along who maybe you didn't bring in with that kind of dispositional interview, and maybe didn't have, they may not be.
So we live in a world where, ideally we'd love to have all penguins. You may get a math candidate, right? It's just tough. And so they may not be necessarily your prototypical penguin, but we've had great luck in them adapting the model. And because the model is all about personalizing the PD and the training to the person as well. So if you're going to have personalized learning for kids, you got to have personalized learning for adults. So then how do you match their strengths with our model so that they can best implement our ideas, but it feels natural to them?
You'll hear stories where I think our most successful and happiest employees are people who maybe have had a taste of education somewhere else, 5-6 years of teaching or more, and red tape goes away and no but goes away and yes and is replaced. Like, yes, take that risk, and if that risk fails, it's okay because we celebrate the idea of risk taking. And so if you try something different in your classroom and it totally flops, you celebrate the fact that you tried it. What can we learn from it? And so I think you'll find that employees that maybe have taught somewhere else for 15, 20 years and then come here feel like they've gone to Disneyland.
And one of the things that I learned already early is that Eminence has moved to a 4-day week. So you all have students in school 4 days and they're off on Fridays many weeks.
Yes.
Tell us about what does that look like? What's happening?
So we go to school one Friday a month. We found a kind of a weird loophole in Kentucky law that allows us to meet the minimum number of hours, but you have to do it to the closest Monday to August 26th. So we give them off all of June, July, and August, and then we have 152 instructional days.
Okay.
Which gave us more days for PD and training of staff, but then we use Fridays as an ICE time, which is interventions, connections, and enrichment. So either you're doing like exploratory stuff or it's an intervention for kids that are...
Yeah, you can bring kids in. And a lot of it started during, the leap to go to a 4-day week started during COVID. Yeah, of course, the kids who are coming in on Friday are not coming in for a full Friday day. It's a shortened, couple, 2.5 hour.
But they're able to come in. It's basically
able
like
to come
office
in.
hours. It's like an
Yes.
intensive.
And it's smaller teacher to student ratio.
Yeah.
It's it's not one-on-one for sure, but it's small groups.
What are some of the kind of enrichment things that kids are able to do on some of those Fridays?
Field trips, college visits, being able to come in and maybe the robotics club, instead of having an hour after school, now they've got 8 hours, where they can really get into
build,
something.
yeah.
And a big shift is, like you said, some of those things that you do during a typical school week where you might bring a lot of kids out of instructional time, we just reserve those for Friday. So
Yeah.
let's show up Friday morning, we're going to load a bus, we're going to go do some of those things, and you're not missing school.
And then the other nice part about it is out of necessity, there are no subs. Like subs don't exist, right? And so now if you know you have Friday off, you start to schedule your doctor's appointments for Fridays. You start to
Right.
schedule your,
So your attendance on the other days is
staff
better.
attendance has gone way up.
Yep.
Student attendance has gone way up.
Yep.
Because you
With the smaller number of instructional days, of course, we really protect that Monday through Thursday.
I'm Angie Deckard, and I am the principal of the middle and high here at Eminence.
So what brought you to Eminence and what's unique about the culture here?
So what brought me to Eminence was actually Dr. Barry. We had worked previously in another school system, and we always thought we'd work together again. So he had mentioned an opening. I applied for it and was able to get the position of principal.
So what are some strategies you use as a leader to kind of build the culture of risk-taking and experimentation and student-centeredness and all the things that are hallmarks here?
So we had to break the barriers, first off, with the teachers, of the administration versus the teacher piece, and get our teachers to look at, we're in it together and we're going to work on this together and work on what the ultimate goal is, and that student agency and getting the students to excel in achievement. So that was one of the barriers that we were able to break, and I think our culture now is amazing, and we're trying to do new strides with that.
What makes your culture amazing?
I think it's the people that we work with. It's the we're all here to help each other instead of it's just all these little compartments. We're all here. They can even ask an instructional assistant for help. They can ask us for help. It's like that family. It's a family atmosphere, and that's what we preach to our kids too. So it was.
So one of the things is like risk taking and failure. Like, how as a leader do you make sure that people are willing to take risks, or do you encourage people to try new things and be?
So I think I lead by example. I mean, there's times that I've failed and I just acknowledge, okay, this didn't work. This wasn't the greatest, and what can we do to improve it? Most of the people that are here, we're surrounded by people who want to make things better. Okay, we see a problem, fix a problem is the mentality.
So I know you've had a lot of new teachers in the school. And what can you say about what it takes when somebody comes to this school? How do you get them acculturated to the...
If they're a new teacher, it's not difficult. They are like, oh, okay, this is great, fantastic.
It's all they know.
It's all they know. When we have when we have teachers coming in from other districts, we have a year of deprogramming where it honestly takes a year to help them to understand this isn't a gotcha environment. We're not micromanaging you. If we come to see you and talk to you, and I say we, whether it's instructional coach, a mentor teacher, an administrator, we're not trying to get you in trouble. It's okay to ask for things.
How about approaches to learning? When you say deprogramming, do we have to help people think about learning in a different way, or about what?
Sometimes.
I think it's the taking the risk, like that. It's. I think if people have been told no, you can't do that so many times that they stop asking. And I think what happens here, and like he would be a great example, is next door neighbor's Carrie, and he sees all the stuff that's going on, and like it's okay to do that.
Yes. So the principal, the superintendent principal, they hire people that they know are good teachers, and then it's like, what can we do to make you a better teacher?
Yeah. So Tom, one of the things that builds culture is what we honor and what we recognize, and you got a couple recognition and honor points here that you want to share.
Yeah. So we talk about the two types of people. Dr. Berry talks in his keynotes all the time about penguins and polar bears, and we really do hire based on the penguin person.
And remind people, what's a penguin?
So that's the high energy, that's the problem solver, that's the culture king, that is the surprise and delight aspect of like just making things fun. And so we honor each month people who go above and beyond to do something purposefully and instructionally fun, to make kids be the type of experience where they want to run to school. And so we call those people our penguins. We have a penguin award. We do 4 or 5 of those each month. I think what you honor and respect is what you value, and it's what people want to do. So we try to. You say that with teachers, that we do that with kids. Why would we not do that with our staff members? And so I think for administrators, you want to model all the things from an administrative standpoint with your staff that you want teachers being doing in the classroom, or you're a hypocrite. And so that's where we talked about some of the challenges of like doing PD in weird places. We've done them in theme parks, we've done them in hospitals, we've done them in malls, Starbucks. Like all of those are places where we've gone and taken our staff on PD days. It's almost a letdown if they come to school and there's not on a PD day and there's not like a bus waiting out front to take them somewhere
to do
mysterious.
something. So how about the Blue Lobster?
So the Blue Lobster really comes from the idea of like the 1 in a million idea. Somebody who's tried something really innovative, systemic. You heard about like the Google Suite today to track micro-credentials. That's a former Blue Lobster award winner, because like that was staff created. Jen and Kendra said they saw a problem. It's like, well, we want to come up with something to solve that issue. And that's kind of a 1 in a million idea. Like the way that they've tracked these digital badges is awesome.
Yeah.
And so you just recognize that in front of the staff with like a Blue Lobster. The key thing I think is, as a part of the culture, to reinforce it, is the Blue Lobster ideas are not always something that is
Don't always work.
successful.
Yeah.
But it was something that somebody saw a problem, they tried to design something, and then they could come up in front of you and be like, and it was awful.
So there were 2 teachers in that room.
Yes.
Actually, 3. There was a special ed collaboration teacher as well.
Okay.
Back, you didn't notice.
So the 2 teachers, are they always in there? Is that 2 teachers in that class?
No, there, one right here across the hall, and it's her planning period, and so she's going over there during her planning period to co-teach. They're trying to do strategy.
So the co-teaching, is that a common thing to give up your planning period to go like try something new? She wants feedback. She wants to have.
Eminence is definitely a family, and so it is. You do get that a lot, and we try to foster it. COVID really did end a lot of the stuff that made us special.
Yeah.
And so that's something that's exciting to see coming back.
So that's what I love about that is that a teacher is like, I want to get better. I want to try something out. Let me do it in front of you so another teacher can give feedback. And that shows that there's got to be a lot of trust and a lot of openness to new ideas here.
There's a lot of collaboration, particularly between those 2 teachers. They are our 2 middle school math teachers, so
Okay.
they cover 6th, 7th, and 8th together, and so some of their classes overlap that they teach, and then there's some things that they teach that the other one doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think in a small school there's that danger to be an island. You're the only one teaching something.
Yeah.
But they collaborate really well.
I kind of wonder if the 4-day week contributes to that they feel like if it were a 5-day week, you'd be like, I can't give up my planning period. I'm too slammed. But maybe knowing that I've got Friday to catch up, tomorrow I got to catch up, gives me the freedom to say, I'll give up my planning period today so that tomorrow I can take care of it.
Finn's like, oh no.
Do we trust him? That's the question of the day.
No, that's why we have everything off of the table.
Yeah, it's probably good.
We need more.
I don't know. He looks like a scientist pulling out.
One surprising delight is sort of entering the under the sea, walking through the. What are we working on today?
We're underwater archaeologists exploring a sunken ship from a European explorer. We are investigating artifacts from the European explorers, and we're learning about how and why and what Europeans took to and from the New World.
So do you feel a little like an explorer right now?
Yes, because I can hear the thing, so yeah.
You can hear like you're under the sea.
Okay, you had to make how many adjectives with a ghost? 10 adjectives. Okay, are you all ready to give me thumbs up, thumbs down if that's an adjective? Yes. Okay, let's see. What's your first word? Spooky. Spooky, is that an adjective? Good job. Touch it.
How's it going? Tell me your name.
I'm James Wampler. I teach Project Lead the Way at Eminence.
And James, tell me what kids are doing here.
Sure, yeah. So right now, they were working on circuits. They're taking the knowledge that they learned earlier on, and they're now using Makey-Makeys to take controllers they made and then control a game or a program of their choice. The rubric they're using, they have to create a robust controller, one that is easily used by a newcomer, and that immerses them in the game. So it should improve their play.
So how long did it take you guys to make this?
It took us, I think, like 2 weekends to make it.
So you're 2 weekends, so you're working on this at home.
Yeah.
People talk about homework. When you were working on this, did you feel like you were doing homework, or was it something different from that?
No, it was just like, it was pretty fun. Like,
Yeah,
it wasn't, we didn't consider it as homework. We just,
I enjoyed doing stuff like with the wires and all that, and I think it was really fun.
Yeah. So when you finally got it to work and got it right, like how did you feel about that?
It was amazing.
I felt
Like it was at like night in the garage, and we were working on it, and then we tested it out for the first time, and it worked, and it was like super exciting.
Super. So this passion project. Tell me about that. This is middle school kids.
This is middle school kids. It's an elective class. It's called Personal Passion Project. So students come in, and in 9 weeks, they have 9 weeks to immerse themselves in something they always wanted, either a skill they wanted to learn, something they wanted to know more about, or a type of service somebody they've always wanted to help. And then at the end of the 9 weeks, they present their findings at a museum day, which is like an elevator conversation that we have out there.
Passion Project's a huge part of Eminence's culture. Just doing passion-based learning in a regular math class on a Tuesday is important, so let alone the idea of these projects. And so we've even got one kid that had 3 TV channels at his house, and one of them was KET, which is the Kentucky Educational Television. And so he discovered Bob Ross one summer. And so as a result of the Student DNA, which is our digital narrative album, we track how kids learn and what they like to learn about and their passions. This kid dropped that in there, that he was into Bob Ross. And so his passion project allowed him to kind of pursue it in depth. Fast forward 5 years, he's been selected to make he's painting the winning Derby horse this year at the Derby. And it started
The Kentucky Derby. We're not talking
Kentucky
about the
Derby.
Eminence Derby.
He is, and this is a live announcement because I don't think anybody really knows it. And so he is doing the Kentucky Derby winning jockey and horse. He's doing the painting this year post-race.
And I teach Project Lead the Way, automation robotics.
And so I was just watching kids making games. They make games. What happens then?
After they make their games, we load them onto the EdHub Hub site at our library. And there at the library, students get to go and actually play all of the student games. Here they can find out what the games are and what they're about. Clicking on them, they read a game blurb that the students wrote to help people understand what their game is. And then they can actually play the game. After playing some games, they get to vote on the games they like the best. And those top 10 winning games get their games loaded onto these brain pads where we 3D printed covers for. And then these can be checked out by elementary classrooms or middle school classrooms as a reward for other students to play.
My name's Art Scrivener. I teach geometry, physics, and pre-calculus.
So tell me about your classroom. This does not look like most math classrooms that I've seen.
Well, it looks like the math classrooms in this district.
Tell us why.
I want the students talking to each other, and not, it's not face forward, do as I say. I want them discussing. We're in the information age, like you were saying. It's not like our old days where the teacher said, well, you're not going to have a calculator in your pocket for the rest of your life. Yes, I am.
Yes, and much more.
And more. So I can look up any formula. I give them the formulas. I don't want them to memorize. I want them to focus on what does the math mean. And so they have to talk to each other. And that's why I want them group and discussion and talking about it.
One of the things I've noticed is the students seem excited and engaged in their learning. And that seems like a really important value here, is that kids love learning or are excited about being here.
Yes, they are. They're very excited about being here. We have, sometimes it's hard for our students who've always been at Eminence. They think that's the way it is everywhere. So we do have some students who have come in or who have left and then come back, and they're like, no, that's not the way it is everywhere. It's a special place.
How would you describe the culture of Eminence? Like, what does it feel like to work here? What's the vibe of this?
So I'm encouraged to try things. I'm encouraged to help my students reach farther, make it personal, make it a real world experience. And if I don't know how, I'm given resources, whether it's from my administration or if it's from other awesome teachers in the school that know so much and can just help me take my learning and the kids' learning to another level.
I think one of the big things that you can always learn from doing anything like this is perseverance, because we did hit challenges. At first we didn't know how to make the closed circuits,
right?
Or we didn't know what to use as a joystick to make it come back to the middle. So I think perseverance is a big part of any kind of project like this. Even the mistakes are what makes it such an accomplishment at the end.
So you've created this game. I want to know about what you've learned by doing it. How do you think? How do you feel like you've grown as a person by doing this kind of work?
So me personally, I've definitely learned a lot of teamwork,
You got a partner here?
Yeah. So we've redone it 3 times, which is a lot for the amount of time that we had. And so the first time we didn't really like the end result, so we made a new one, and then the buttons weren't working right, so we decided to try to make one more. And I'm really glad that we did, because it worked out a lot better.
So it sounds like you're also describing perseverance. It didn't work, I try again.
Yeah.
You could have quit, could have given up, but you weren't satisfied and you wanted it to be better.
Yeah.
How about you? What do you think you've gained, or what do you think you've...
Probably teamwork, because we've run into a lot of struggles because she said we redid it a lot. So just teamwork, and we had to share a lot of ideas to make it the final product, and that works, and that the buttons work, and that it's enjoyable.
How do you feel now that it's done or in good shape?
I'm pretty satisfied with it. We worked really hard on it, and I'm kind of glad that we redid it because this one's probably the best one that we've made so far.
Hi, my name is Mariah and I'm a senior. My name is Marissa and I'm a junior.
So it seems like one of the things that I've seen here is a lot of project kind of work. Tell me about that. What's it like doing all those projects? What kind of skills do you feel like you're getting, or what kind of value do you see in that?
So with all the projects that we do here, it's like getting to work with groups and getting, the social. But with the projects, we mostly just, get what we can with the resources that we have, because we have a lot of resources at Eminence. And with those resources, we just kind of put it like on the project by itself.
Yeah.
And we also have this thing called micro-credentials, which gives us access to the rooms over there, which have laser printers, 3D cutters, a whole bunch of different things.
So you taught somewhere else, and when you came here, what was the shift? What is it like here? How is the culture here different, and what did you have to kind of adjust to?
That's a great question. In many of the schools where I'd been before, there was so much red tape binding everything up that it was really difficult to do creatively. It'd be better to not try than to
try and have somebody complain.
Yeah.
And at Eminence, it's not like that.
No, Eminence is a really lovely place as far as having support. I'm not afraid to do anything. I feel really comfortable with the craziest of ideas to engage kids and help them succeed with their learning.
And what I get a sense here is that creativity, risk-taking, it's just cherished, it's prized.
Innovation, failure that we can learn through for ourselves and for students, I think is really just embraced.
One of the things I've enjoyed the most about here is, with it being K-12, the kids growing up look up to the older kids, and you have a lot of real excitement about what they want to do next. It comes out in their projects. So I have a blended class of 7th and 8th, and my 7th graders, you looked at the project where the girls were making the program themselves and the controller. I have 7th graders who are like, when are we doing programming? So they already know what's coming next. They have experience and they've been trained well in what positive feedback looks like. So what I'm used to is a lot of training about how do you give feedback? What does that look like? How do we do nice things instead of this is terrible or whatever? How do we give actual paragraph long, helpful feedback? I was launching into a unit on that, about like, how do we do this? And I got some eye rolls. I thought, oh, this is the usual stuff where we're upset about, whatever. Someone said, we know how to do feedback. I hear all the time, guys. So tell you what, prove me wrong. We'll do one quick, like we did a helicopter whirlybird with paper lab. I said, give feedback. And the stuff I got back gave me goosebumps. I was like, I don't have to do anything. They already know how to do all the feedback.
They were so skilled.
That culture of projects where they're working on them, constantly working on those things. I think in my little district, we were real big on grit. So the ability to weather a challenge, I'm seeing a lot of grit here.
And Diane, you actually came to Eminence on purpose. There's no accident that you ended up here.
No.
How'd you end up here?
So I saw Dr. Berry speak a few years ago, and I'm like, holy cow, that's the kind of crazy that is all me. I'm kind of the weird one at the end of the hall that does these weird projects, and not the lecture and talk teacher. And that's how he said his school was. And then he would tell us about the surprise and delight and all the great things that they do here. And I'm like, wow. And so my school actually did a tour of this school, and I was just really this is it. There's.
What was it about Eminence that spoke to you?
The people that are they're doing so many fun things and creative projects, and it's not just worksheets and papers and boring, and they're really pushing those students. And then the exemplars, they're really looking at the whole student. As a math teacher, of course, math is the most important. But there's so many more other things that are important for student life that kids don't get in normal schools. And here they do, all about collaboration and communication and synthesizing and doing what they know and then turning those into real good humans.
So how is your math class here different than you think math classes are in most traditional schools?
It's crazy fun. We just have a really good time. We challenge each other and we try new things, and we are always looking for new ways to do stuff and just really have fun with math. I had a kid tell me the other day that, I hated math all my life. And I said, and you still do, right? He says, no. He says, this is my favorite class. He said, I don't even look at the clock anymore because it's just fun.
What are the things they want from you as a teacher? What are kind of the things?
Engagement. We do the Buddy talks about the surprise and delight. Make it fun. Make it engaging. Try something new. Don't worry about if it fails. That's the biggest thing, is it's okay to have a lesson that just totally bombs.
Yeah.
To learn.
In a world where a lot of teachers are looking to get out of the profession and they're so stressed out, you seem like you're having a pretty good time here.
This is my third job. Okay, I'm retired Navy.
Yep. Yep.
There, I was a design engineer at GE for 10 years. My last evaluation at GE, they said, now, we mean this in a negative comment, you're too much of a teacher. I'm like, okay, you're right, I am. And since you won't put me in a job where I can explain, I can teach the rest of the engineers how the refrigerator works.
Head to a school.
I'll come to school and teach the students how the world works.
So we do all the things to honor the culture, the risk-taking, the surprise and delight, the making school a place that kids want to run to and not from. Rarely, if ever, do we have never do we have the hour-long staff meeting to digest, test scores. We share those, we look at them, but it's not, that's not what you honor. You don't honor that somebody, raised social studies scores by 3 percentile points from the year before. The proof of that is do kids love being in social studies class? Are they creating amazing things? Are they out in the community making a difference? Those are the measurables that, that are more valued. So we can't, have a culture where we say, well, we're going to get penguins and blue lobsters out and that's what we honor. And then spend 5 hours, disaggregating test data and the minutia of that. Not that it's not a valuable source of information. We're doing that as administrators behind the scenes to figure out what's been successful, where are we not, and where do we may need to make some changes. But that's not what we're putting out in front of us.
Right, but if we spend a lot of time talking about all those things, what we're basically saying is that's what we care about.
That's what we care about.
Yeah. Superintendent of schools.
Yep.
U.S. News and World Report's ranking the schools. We got to do good, right? We got to look good on the U.S. News ranking. How do you guys feel about trying to look good on rankings and state rankings? And
so we were ranked. We were a school district. We started out in the 4th percentile to the 8th percentile when we got hired here 12 years ago. Then we got to a place where we went and spent several years ranked, Silver District, U.S. News and Report, and then now it's somewhere where we do the very best we can with the end of the year test scores. We're fine with, but also we're never going to be in the top 5% because of the model itself. It's designed to make kids well-rounded, world-class citizens, and so they're going to be in the 75th to 80th percentile with a population that should never achieve there in a lot of people's minds. But then also they're going to have these other, hundreds of skills that we've embedded from kindergarten through 12th grade through the Eminence exemplars that we think are equal in importance to being able to just recall random facts on a random day. Like we could drill down, we could get to be a blue ribbon school every year. I know that without a shadow of a doubt in my mind. In the process of that, you're going to have horrible morale. The kids are not going to have the same learning experiences. Tony Wagner said it this summer, and I loved it. He said, we don't live in a world anymore that it is how much you know is how much you make money-wise. He goes, it's who knows the most and how to use it. Like, how do you use the stuff you do know?
Right.
Is the people that are going to be the influencers, the people making money. There are 8 attributes of our grad profile. So, and we made them all where they were verbs, right? So, like, I can communicate by, I can create by, I can persevere by. And so that was purposeful. And then and all of those look different. And then we have created what we think is the first people in America. We've created exemplars or standards for all 8 of those from kindergarten through 12th grade. So then every class, kindergarten, 1st grade, they earn micro-credentials in those 8 attributes.
So in addition to sort of just looking at here's the curriculum, here's what I teach, this is in some way speaking to teachers about what students need to be able to do or show.
It's 3 things: knowledge, skills, and dispositions. The knowledge is the core content that the state pays us to teach. The skills are what do we want them to be able to do, and the dispositions are what characteristics of their, do we want them to possess? Perseverance, empathy, and how do we build those into these big rocks? So like a kindergartner is going to speak publicly in front of 100 people 3 times, right? Like that's going to be a part of their curriculum.
It's just built into the
curriculum. Built in. That way, by the time they're seniors, they are world-class speakers, like almost every kid.
Kids who can communicate. And so, you can't just put a graphic on a wall and say, we want kids to communicate. It's part of our graduate
and then just hope it happens out there.
It's the how. So you have to embed that in your curriculum from kindergarten through 12th grade.
We had to define what collaboration is, what these standards are. Some teachers might think collaboration is 2 kids working on the same worksheet. That is not world-class collaboration. So then we have to define what world-class collaboration looks like, create a standard for that, and give it to them. And then we created a micro-credentialing system where the kids can earn micro-credentials at certain tools or skills. And then once they've earned that micro-credential, they're free to use that tool at any time without adult supervision. The only room, and I know you all were just in there, is the workshop room. Like that room still always requires a teacher.
Right. So give us an idea. I mean, we've seen a lot of elementary stuff. At the high school, what are some examples of micro-credentials that high school kids are earning?
Honestly, they're still earning the same micro-credentials at some level, going to a different depth. So like the laser cutter in elementary, it may be as simple as like a really generic design where they're doing it all on their own, where at high school they're assembling, building, creating, and prototyping for a purpose.
So do all kids have to earn the same micro-credentials?
No, there's
Yes.
choice.
Well, not micro-credentials, but the same
They have-
exemplars.
You've talked to a lot of teachers today that talked about projects like the designing the toy for the student with cerebral palsy. Tell me that they couldn't use some of those things to demonstrate I'm an innovator. I've made a contribution.
In a nutshell, elementary, give them hundreds of tools, right? Middle school, give them problems to use those tools. High school, tell them to go find the problem and use those tools. So that is the big broad look at how we take it.
Where do kids track their own credentials?
That is a great question, and what we need to do is talk to Jen and Kendra. They've designed in Google Data Studios basically a process where they can, the student has a dashboard and they can submit the one that they're working on, submit the evidences of it, get it reviewed by a staff member, and then when the staff member approves it, it says approved and the micro-credential badge gets added to their virtual screen.
Awesome.
I was just going to tell you that the Eminence just stands apart because there's a million things, but what is amazing is that the positivity here is it's just unbelievable. I mean, and as a profession, generally teachers are good, positive people that work hard, but here they don't just go the extra mile. They go the extra mile and then some, and then they're smiling about it. And what else can we do to help you out? And it's not just my fellow teachers, but I mean it's from the superintendents down to the custodial staff. It's like, how can we make this place better? And and even people that are worn out and tired. I mean, COVID slammed everybody, but it's just, how can we make this even better with this positive, cheerful attitude? And it's amazing here. That's one thing, that is the positivity that I didn't get to touch.
You know what? I bet we could have an hour conversation about this, because there's something about this kind of learning that just lights up educators' hearts.
Yeah.
It's just we can feel the difference it makes. And I hope everybody watches this thinks, how do we create more of this in our schools?